If you've played Supervive, there's one thing you'll notice from other top-down games, and that's that you can't unlock your camera. What's poppin' everyone, it's your boy Levi, and let's get into Supervive's camera settings so that you can feel more comfortable aiming spells and looking around the map. Stick around to the end of this video and I'll have some bonus settings that will help with aiming. In the camera settings, you have three options of default settings. Standard Dynamic is just a lesser calmed down version of Full Dynamic, which I'm about to get into. We'll come back to Standard Dynamic later. Fully Dynamic is what I recommend you use. This almost centers your enemies to the center of your screen. You'll still have to track your cursor to your enemies, but it means you'll always be looking in relatively the same spot. It takes a few games to get used to, but I haven't switched back since using this. Lock camera is one I never recommend. This completely locks your camera to your character, and despite having the least amount of movement, it's still one of the hardest to aim. You'll need to track enemies with both your eyes and your cursor to land skill shots, and you'll lack critical information of enemies outside your screen distance. So let's talk about what I mean by enemies outside your screen distance. When playing on Fully Dynamic, you have the option to move your mouse to edges of the screen to pan your camera a bit. This means you not only see a farther distance, but a wider view of what is happening in front of you. In the endgame portions of the game, gaining information of where every team is crucial, and if you physically cannot get that information due to your camera settings, you'll always be at a disadvantage compared to enemy teams. The way you can adjust how far and how close you zoom is by adjusting the pan distance. Like I said before, you want to always take in the most amount of information you can, so you'll want this at 100%, but if you're getting motion sickness, lowering this can help. Just know that you're at a disadvantage if this is anything less than 100. I know we're kind of jumping around a bit, but I think this order makes more sense for things. Dead zone is how far away from your character your cursor needs to be before your screen starts moving. The higher the dead zone, the farther away you'll need to be. The fully dynamic setting will put you at the low dead zone and your camera will start moving pretty close to you. I find this is a little too much when you're trying to fight characters that are right on top of you, like an Oath, a Jin, or a Brawl, so I increase it a little bit. Max zone is the opposite in the sense where it's the point your cursor has to cross to get to your max pan distance. This helps you see beyond your vision and is best set closer to the max value. Having it too close means that you'll always pan to your max distance past a certain point, making harsh camera jumps when you aim in different directions. I like this set slightly lower than 0.9, which is what the fully dynamic gives you. The big takeaway is that the more information you can take in a game, the better you'll do. And the best way to do this is with the fully dynamic camera. The distance between your dead zone and max zone is where your camera will be moving with you. Anything before your dead zone is where the camera won't move, and anything after your max zone is where it'll pan to max distance. Standard Dynamic tries to opt for a balance between all three of these. Equal amounts of non-movement when close, movement when far, and I think that's fine, but it's not better than Fully Dynamic. However, like always, finding something that feels smooth and comfortable to you will be your optimal settings. And as promised, some bonus settings that will help your aim is in the game tab of the settings. First is Show Aiming Laser. This is on by default, and if you turn it off, it's much harder to try and line up skill shots. Straight up. Next is limiting your aiming laser. You'll want to keep this off, but there are some benefits to keeping it on. Limiting your aiming laser will make it so that your laser stops at your cursor. The benefit to keeping this off is you get a better read on if the enemy is in range of your abilities or not. I like to keep this off. When the laser extends past my target, I know I'm offline. The last setting is to show character ground circles. This will literally show your hitbox for your target. It doesn't matter how big you think a character looks, what's indicative of if your ability hits it or not is the circle beneath them. This is especially helpful for enemies over the abyss. You'll want to shoot at the red circle above them to try and spike them, and not their character model. Hopefully you feel like you're more in control of your camera settings. It can be a bit of a learning curve, and it's not like any other game I've played before. Alright, now that you're comfortable with the camera, you'll need a character that you're comfortable with. Click or tap the screen now to be taken to my main video which showcases all the hunters and their playstyles in Supervive so you know exactly who to main.